And welcome back to the Daily Dribble podcast, guys. As always, I'm your host, Nick Zammit. Absolutely thrilled to be back for another huge episode after what's been a bumper week of action surrounded around free agency. Now, if you're an NBA fan, free agency is undoubtedly one of the most exciting times of year, and this week has been no exception. The news has been coming thick and fast, to say the least, so I'm really not going to stand on ceremony. I want to get into things as quickly as possible surrounding everything free agency. Before we do so, though, a big shout out to both Stadium Scene and The Cover. Thrilled to be a part of those two networks, continuing to showcase all my work here, as well as a whole host of other content creators in Australia, New Zealand, the US, and Canada. Very, very appreciative for all their continued hard work and support. Okay, guys, as I said, today is going to be focused purely on free agency. Like I did with the draft last week, I'm going to kind of play it as a winners and losers type format. There's just been too much news throughout the week. And if I was going to break down and discuss every little piece, I'd be here for 12 plus hours. And I don't think anyone really wants that. If you do, good luck to you. I'm more than happy to put in a shift for you. But I think the vast majority of listeners would be happy for me to wrap this up as quickly as possible. That being said, if you've been following the socials throughout the week, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok, it's been helping you keep abreast of all the latest news from free agency. Certainly appreciate all the support. A lot of people sending questions and kind of giving their thoughts on what's played out throughout the week. A lot of fascinating moves indeed. As I said, though, don't want to stand on ceremony. Going to go through my winners and losers here. Let's kick straight off. Let's go with the winners, guys. And first and foremost, I've got the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, they got their third big star during the week and arguably now have the best big three within the league. They've got the explosive guard in Tyrese Maxey, who's taken his game to a completely different level over the course of the last 12 to 18 months. They've got the dominant big man in Joel Embiid, and now they've got the wing who can completely tear a game open off his own shooting, and that's Paul George. Signed to a 4-year, $212 million deal, currently 34 years of age. You could look at this deal and think potentially the last year or two is going to look pretty average. That being said, it doesn't matter for Philly. They are in win-now mode unequivocally. They've had so many talented players at their disposal over the course of the last probably 5 years, and it hasn't materialized into championship glory yet. This is probably their last big push at it, you would think, with the Joel Embiid iteration of the team. Paul George averaged 22.5 points, 5 rebounds, and 3.5 assists last season. A bit of a worry off the back the back of this, should I say, is their depth. But getting the third star was absolutely the big piece and arguably the biggest free agent signing over the course of the last couple of years, you would say. Paul George absolutely is a huge upgrade on Tobias Harris, who links up once again there in Detroit on a 2-year, $52 million deal. Gets to reunite there. Detroit had plenty of money to throw at him, so Tobias Harris heads back there. But Paul George is absolutely a big upgrade. Likewise, losing Nick Batum to the Clippers hurts, but re-signing Andre Drummond and Eric Gordon helps minimize that a little bit. Going to be very interesting to see what they do with the rest of this roster. You'd think a lot of minimum kind of contract guys filling out the last couple of spots, but they've got the big three. They've got that to work with. They've put all their chips on the table, all in. Very excited to see how it plays out with them. You know, I think they've got the talent there with those three players, Maxey, Embiid, and George in particular. Re-signing Kelly Oubre as well kind of helps contribute them being a winner. I think at a minimum, it's got to be conference finals for this team. Otherwise, this could age very, very poorly. But at the moment, off the back of this week, they are a winner in my eyes. Another winner has to be the OKC Thunder. Signing Isaiah Hartenstein, I think, is a massive win. The Thunder struggled quite a little bit with rebounding last season, and Hartenstein will certainly help alleviate a bit of those worries. Sure, they overpaid on him. 3 years, $87 million. By the time this becomes a problem, though, when they've got to re-sign guys like Shet to big deals and things of the kind, he's probably going to be off the books and gone. That being said, the Thunder addressed their one big need and they didn't have to use any draft capital to do so. A lot of teams would have been preying on, with how many assets the Thunder have, that to get a piece like Hartenstein that they'd have to attach a pick to it. The fact that the Thunder kept all their picks and got better is incredible. So very, very well done to Sam Presti in the front office there. Likewise, I think they re-signed Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins to team-friendly deals, which is a big plus. Really key role players throughout the course of last season. And it just ties in with the signing of Alex Caruso the week before. They've gotten better both offensively and defensively now. And given not only the squad that they currently have, but the assets they have at their disposal as well, they are in such a great position moving forward. Very well done to the OKC Thunder. Big winner in my eyes. I know for me, I didn't have quite as much faith going into them last season as what others did. Going into next season, they are a team to absolutely be feared 100%. Excellent. To my third winner, I've got the Golden State Warriors. Now, they could be a big winner if things align how it's looking. It might, at the moment, there's one big carrot still being dangled out. But if they sign that player who I'll mention in a moment, they could be very, very big winners. But at the moment, they're still a winner. Klay Thompson departed for Dallas. They weren't able to turn Chris Paul into anything on the trade market, which I'll get into shortly. They struck out on Paul George, which, if you keep up to date with the Daily Dribble socials, it didn't really help with the TikTok I put up the other night, just before Paul George was signed by Philly. The night prior, I put up a TikTok, a reel, pretty much explaining how it looked like the Warriors were going to land Paul George. That did not age well. But those are pretty ordinary losses for the most part. Klay Thompson, Chris Paul, missing out on Paul George. You could look at the Warriors and really consider them a big loser out of things. Over the past few days, though, they have made some really nice moves to kind of rebolster their stocks. D'Anthony Melton coming in. Kyle Anderson from the Wolves there is a huge get. Slow-mo. Adds a lot of stability as well as three-point shooting. And the big news out of this morning was signing Buddy Hield from the 76ers. Now, this is an absolutely electric backcourt of both Hield and Curry, arguably the two best three-point shooters in the league, based on volume and actual percentage. Pardon me. That he's gonna offer a hell of a lot more than what Klay Thompson did, and unfortunately, it's the end of the Splash Brothers. Already being coined is the Splash Buddies. Now, we'll see how that picks up, but I think at this point in time, what Hield can offer compared to Thompson was essentially unplayable at times last season, and as much as I hate to say it, because the nostalgia factor, I wanted to see a fairy book ending for that version of the Warriors. It's not to be. Getting Hield, though, I think is fantastic. Likewise, D'Anthony Melton is a big upgrade from Chris Paul, not only in terms of on-court production, but also health, which is a huge piece. But the other big piece that still might come to fruition, which, as I alluded to a moment ago, would make the Warriors big winners, is that Lauri Markkanen's still in play. Now, there's been a lot of talk over the last probably 24 to 48 hours about this one. If this happens, the Warriors have had a massive summer. I hope this materializes. Even if it doesn't, you would still consider them a winner for what they've been able to do. As I said, sad that Klay's left, but for them moving forward, this is probably the best result they could have hoped for. It is going to be raining threes once again in the Bay Area. As I said, adding slow-mo, Kyle Anderson there will certainly help with that. D'Anthony Melton, Buddy Hield, combined with what Steph Curry's still going to bring. Andrew Wiggins, I think they're really well poised going forward, better than what they looked at the back end of this season. So for me, the Warriors are a big winner. Let's transition to the losing side. And a name I mentioned briefly a moment ago, Chris Paul, is a loser. Sadly, CP3 is going to end his career never having won a ring. He's going to be 40 years of age in May, signed a one-year deal, $11 million with the Spurs there, who aren't going to be anywhere near title contention. It's absolutely fantastic news for Victor Wembanyama. He's going to be able to work with one of the greatest point guards the league has ever seen. Their chemistry is going to be tremendous. I can just say it. He's going to take him under his wing. The actual lob threat, the passing IQ that Paul possesses is going to open up so many opportunities for Wemby. But outside of that, it's not great news for Chris Paul. The only way out of this and to hopefully turn those fortunes around is that he has an incredible first half of the season and gets traded to a contender for the back half. I don't think the Spurs would have any qualms doing something of the kind. He certainly deserved a ring. The way things are looking, though, is probably curtains on those dreams, which is a disappointing end. As I said, he's one of the greatest point guards in league history. Incredible to have never won a ring. But as the expression goes, if it was easy, everyone would have one. And as is, the case, not everyone does have one. It's not an easy feat winning an NBA championship. So that certainly wouldn't be a blemish on his career, but it would be nice to see him end up with one. So I'm still thinking if the Lakers are make a genuine push at it, get the band back together there, Chris Paul and LeBron, how fun would that be? But as the way things stand, Chris Paul is a loser. Okay, pushing ahead. My next loser. The Denver Nuggets are a loser in my eyes. How dumb are they? They had a championship team ready to roll back if they wanted to, but they cheaped out. They let KCP walk for nothing. The Magic have paid him a 3-year, $66 million deal. And according to reports from KCP's wife, the Nuggets wouldn't come to the party and match this amount. I just find this ridiculous. The Nuggets have the best player in the league at their disposal, one of the greatest players of all time in Nikola Jokic at their disposal, yet they're not prepared to shell out and put the appropriate pieces around him. What are you doing? Crazy, 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 crazy stuff. You're essentially banking on players like Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, Julian Strawther, Daron Holmes, and Jalen Pickett to help him carry this team to a championship? Ridiculous. The Nuggets have always notoriously been cheap. That being said, they've never had a player like Jokic at their disposal. I'm absolutely puzzled as to what they've done here. Like 3 years, $66 million, $22 million a season, KCP. You pay him. You pay him every day of the week. You look at what the Celtics have done. They've paid all their starting core an absolute boatload of cash. Over the next couple of years, you're looking at $1 billion for their starting five for the Celtics. Yet the Nuggets don't want to pay $66 million over 3 years? Just crazy. The rest of the league is continuing to get better, while the Nuggets are getting worse. I think the loss of Reggie Jackson hurts them as well. I'm a fan of Reggie Jackson. Think he can offer a team a heap. Headed to the Hornets now. But it's just disappointing. It's the only way to put it. It's disappointing when you've got the players there. Okay, it didn't quite pan out this year. They went down to the Wolves there in the semifinals in a game 7 in which they were like 20 points up. They were a couple of plays away from potentially being in a conference finals, and who knows how things would have played out from that point onwards. But yeah, if you're a Nuggets fan, you've got to be absolutely heartbroken. They're showing no activity in free agency. They're showing no signs of wanting to actually get better. And that's the thing, like I've spoken about quite a lot over the last couple of years on this show. Either go for it. If you got the players there, go for it. Or if you're a team that's not looking to challenge, bottom out. And so many teams are going that way. I'm going to say it, it's been a while since I've said it. The Nuggets could potentially be heading to mediocrity. It actually feels nice to roll off the tongue. It's a word I haven't used in a while, but mediocrity it could be where the Nuggets are headed. They need to show some real intent and put the appropriate pieces, as I said, around Jokic. You've still got Gordon, you've still got Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray. Okay, but outside of that, all these players have shown that there's inconsistencies in their game. My MPJ in particular, Aaron Gordon, despite coming on the back end of last season as more of an offensive threat. Jamal Murray's but certainly the most consistent out of them. But you really need to capitalize on the players that you've got. Like Nikola Jokic, as I said, the best player in the league at the moment. By the time it's all said and done, potentially one of the best bigs to ever play the game, and you're not prepared to pay $66 million over 3 years for one of the key players supporting him. Big loser in my eyes, the Denver Nuggets. Okay, before I start getting too wound up, I'll push ahead to my last loser, the LA Clippers. They failed to re-sign Paul George. Now, this was mainly due to the fact that they didn't want to offer him a 4-year max contract, yet they were willing to offer him a 3-year deal. Made a confusing move to sign Kevin Porter Jr., who was out of the league last season after a domestic violence charge. Don't want to, I'm all for second chances, absolutely. Don't really see how the fit with KPJ is going to go there. With the Clippers, they added Nick Batum, which I like. Same to Derek Jones Jr. from the Mavs there. Another move I quite like. I think losing Mason Plumlee to the Phoenix Suns is an underrated loss, though. And for me, the reason I've given them a loser, not getting PG, they just don't look as well equipped now to deal with a Kawhi Leonard injury. Now PG's gone. He was kind of the primary number 2, James Harden. If Kawhi goes down injured, I think they're going to be in a world of hurt. I don't know how James Harden would go being the focal point of an offense still. It's a bit of a foreign concept since he went to Brooklyn, then to Philly, or Philly, Brooklyn. It's going to be interesting if that does eventuate. Granted, Kawhi was pretty healthy this season, so hopefully it isn't too much of a concern next year. But if Harden has to lead this team, I don't really like the players that he's got around him to help him in that regard. I've given them a big loser as well, just off the fact that with the PG and Kawhi experiment, Steve Ballmer forking out a boatload of cash, that it eventuated in nothing. This team has been super disappointing over the course of the last couple of years. The fact they didn't make a conference finals with this iteration of the team is just disgusting. It looks even worse now when you see how good Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is as well. An MVP candidate, and you would think an MVP candidate moving forward, not to mention the boatload of draft assets that they gave to get Paul George to the Thunder there. Really ugly stuff for the Clippers there. And again, with the way the league's tracking, the way teams are being constructed, I don't see them being a threat next year. Especially now that Paul George is gone. Even prior to that, I think they were still going to be playing from behind the 8 ball. But even more so now with that loss. Stranger things have happened. Maybe Derek Jones finds another 7 gears to go up. Batum, as I said, I like. But yeah, you're going to need James Harden and Kawhi playing at their absolute best. I don't see it happening. So the Clippers are a loser in my eyes. Guys, just to recap my winners and losers from the free agency period. On the winners side, I had the Philadelphia 76ers, the OKC Thunder, and the Golden State Warriors. On the losers side, I had Chris Paul, the Denver Nuggets, and the LA Clippers. Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? Would love for you guys to let me know what you thought. As I said, I could have spent hours upon hours going through every single move, breaking it down with a fine-tooth comb. Unfortunately, that's not the way things have played out. But hopefully this gives you a quick recap of some of the main moves to come out over the course of the last week. I'm sure, as you've seen, the news is still coming thick and fast from free agency and the league as a whole. So be sure to continue to stay up to date with all of the socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok for all the latest news from both the NBA and the NBL. We're also approaching the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. Some very exciting basketball coming up on the international stage. Team Australia was officially unveiled their 10-man squad today. Their 12-man, should I say, squad today. Very, very exciting. I'm super keen. I'm super keen for the Olympics. The US are certainly the favourites. But Canada, Slovenia there with Luka Doncic, Australia as well. Going to be very interesting to see how we stack up on the world stage. So that's coming up in a couple of weeks' time. guys, till then, I will leave it there. Be sure to keep the engagement, all the questions and thoughts coming on the show. I'm looking forward to another massive week of free agency. Can't wait to break it down all with you again next week. Till then, have a fantastic week, and I'll speak to you again soon. Take care.